You know, such a long time since I made a video, right? And a lot of things has been happening. I mean, good things. Look, we have a Super Gemini in front of us. And since I'm not really sponsored or anything from UDO Audio or any other synth manufacturer, I'm free to say all my opinions as I want. And that's what I want to do with my YouTube channel, you know, to keep everything unbiased. The only biased thing is, of course, me, because I tend to love some things more than other things, and it's really hard to be, you know, subjective about everything, you know, because it's like we find some synths that really fall in love with some type of architecture, we discover it more and more. And for example, in my case, I'm becoming, always been, I would say, a huge fan of the hybrids, for the reason that you have so much flexibility in the oscillators and you have the nice combination of analog filters. But don't get me wrong, completely analog synths, completely digital ones, I love them also. There's nothing wrong with it. But UDO Audio is something special with, and I'm not going to put too much, you know, story of my life here, but long time ago, 8 years ago, I remember a person I was selling an Access virus to was telling me that he wanted an Access virus and a UDO Audio Super 6. And the UDO Audio Super 6 was, I'm not quite sure, was this like, perhaps it was 6 years ago, I'm not quite sure actually, but it was in the dawn of the Super 6, and he said that you have to check the UDO Audio, it's a company that's a rise. And I was checking a video, and what fascinated me was that George Hearn, the founder of UDO Audio, man, I could see directly that he really enjoyed synthesizer, and he had so much to offer to it, you know, to create. He had so much potential to create things, and according to me, he's definitely the next synth legend of creating synthesizers. And I can tell that I've been listening to many synthesizers, and what I think makes UDO Audio like a class by itself is that the synths are made, except one. I would say that the domino is the one that is soon released. That one has playability, but it's a bit menu diving, not in a terrible way. These, you know, are more, the supers are more sweet spot synthesizers that you tune in the values and you find what you want very easily. And I think that I want to just highlight some of the things that I do love. But remember this is a dual layer. You have Super 8, which is one layer, 16 voices. If you put in binaural, you have 8 voices. This one has 20 voices. In binaural, it's depending on, I think it's 10 voices in binaural if you put it in single mode, dual or split, which dual is stacked, the same thing. Then you will have the voice in binaural, like it will be 5 voices then. But to me 5 voices are enough, so it's like 5 voices on each layer. But it's not always that I do use binaural. It's really nice and it's a fun way to make the sounds, quite unique actually. And I think binaural is something that's been getting more and more asked of some synthesizers, people that want the synths. And it's the tricky thing is on analog synthesizer when you're really limited to the voice count in a different way, which will make the price go up very much. So what I want to say is that even if this is a flagship, you know, dual layer, and you have like chorus and delay independent for each layer, you have an arpeggiator dependent on each layer, I would say that you don't really need the Super Gemini if you want to make good sounds, you know. I have to be honest that I played Super 6. I dare to say the Super 6 is honestly a little bit more in my favorite category. This one is definitely favorite, but there's something I really love with the Super 6. The simplicity, everything's so cleared, like you have one layer to work with. I think that I had the chance to have, you know, 2-layer synthesizers like the Rev 2, you know, I still have it, but it's rare that I make dual layers. This one, of course, I tend to do dual layering because it's much more accessible with the 2 independent control lines here. But, you know, enough talk, I guess. I think we should start making some sound. I'm going to put down my cup of tea, of course. Cannot be better, you know. Having a cup of tea and playing a United Kingdom made synthesizer. Cannot get more British than that, I guess. So where do we start? I guess that we start with one layer only. I can control, like, you know, the upper row is the upper layer, and of course the lower one is the lower layer. Very simple and logic. I'm going to put it in single mode, and I'm going to use the lower layer because this one is easier to reach now when I make the sound and having it in the video. I can do the same with the upper layer as well. I want to initialize the lower layer. So doing that, press shift once, press this one, lower init. And now we have an initialized patch. I guess that we can start directly with the first oscillator. And this one is the control row. If I remember it right, it's quite different between the first and the second oscillator. Let's see if I'm remembering this right now. I think that on the second one I'm going to listen to now. Yes, the second one behaves different. You hear that it's a more, you know, organic thing. The other one is more digital, more pure. Both are digital, digital, but the second one tends to be more drifting in a bit. You can use the parameter drift, of course, but that's something to highlight. That's a difference, you know. So what's kind of unique that I want to point out directly is that you can put it in Super DDS1. The oscillators are called DDS on this type of synthesizer, and when you put it in Super DDS you can put it half or full. Did you hear that? That's what I love, you know. These synthesizers are of course inspired very much of the old Rolands. Oh, that's such a joy, you know. And now I can spawn more oscillators. So if, for example, if I'm using a DDS, I can make a super saw. It's in half mode now. Now it's turned down. And we can put it in full. And we haven't yet touched the chorus. If you want to have chorus width also, chorus 1, chorus 2, or both, really nice. You have a delay also. And now I think we go directly, we have one oscillator only then, which is a type of super saw. But what I want to start, I want to take something here, you know, listen to this. Real knobs, you know. So now when I have digital waveforms, remember that on DDS1, these will also be working with this detune, for example. Here. And that's really awesome, but we stick to the saw. And then I want to go directly to the filter. The filter has a high pass filter, static one. But you can, of course, you have a modulation matrix, so you can assign this to be moving according to the pitch tracking on the keyboard if you want to. But this one's really handy if you want to reduce some of the frequencies. The high-pass filter behavior is something that differs from the Super 8 Gemini, these two, the second generation UDO, compared to the first generation Super 6, which can be tracked very easily by just toggling a switch there. And now let's listen to the low-pass filter. And what I want you to know is that the filter has a drive, and you can have it off or in stage 1 and 2. And I'm going to touch on that a bit later now, but let's listen to the filter. And the resonance behaves in a way that it reduces the lower frequencies, as you heard there. But this is the good thing, that when you put drive in stage 1, it will compensate. So that's like low frequency compensation in the resonance. Now we have in the low frequencies also. And the second stage in the drive will put some more distortion to it, or drive it harder. You get some more bite to it. But one thing to know is that if you put it off the drive, so the resonance won't remove the lower frequencies, you will notice that the higher frequencies that's resonating will sound a bit different. So it's a good reason to mention that it's not always good thing to only use a compensation that removes the lower frequencies. I mean, to compensate the lower frequencies. And what I like with this synthesizer also is that if you turn off the binaural mode, you have here on the left-right phase, which is located on the LFO, this one doesn't have anything directly always to do with LFO, because now it's in spread mode. So if it's maximized, it's a pan spread basically when you're not using the binaural mode. So now the synthesizer is not running binaural mode, which means that you have 20 voices at disposal. And for example, if you put binaural mode, you have it forced, you know, to put one voice left hard pan and opposite right also hard pan. So that's why it consumes 2 voices for each key press. A thing that I want to highlight on the synth is what I think makes it stands out very well, is that you have audio rate modulation sounds crazy good on the Super Gemini. I mean Super 8, Super Gemini, Super 6, you know, all that range, it's incredible, and I'm sure it will do it also on the Domino. And I haven't heard any hybrid that sounds that good. And let's make some audio rate modulation. We're going to put the LFO in high frequency mode. You have high frequency mode and it's using a sine. High frequency mode with tracking, which is like it tracks the keyboard, but it's using a sine also. So it won't use you know, other wave shapes than that. But let's have a listen. And then we have the tracking mode. It's super fun, you know, and you can, you know, modulate pitch and stuff like that with that. So that can create some crazy tones. Now, since this video is like more about speaking, what I want to highlight things that I do love, you know. I won't be playing this instrument as you actually should, because it's just to zip the mouth and play. That's the way they should be played, because they're so inspirational. You have reaching everything. It's like you're going on a musical journey, and the time really flies with this synthesizer. So the Super Gemini has some cool stuff. They have this ribbon controller, which of course you can assign also in the mod matrix to different things rather than only pitch. And you have I don't know what more to say, because it's like you know, when you look at this synth, it's really what you see is what you have and what you get, and it's a lot of things. Okay, maybe we should make some sound listening to the, you know, oscillator starts from scratch again. So I'm going to initialize this lower. We're going to put 2 oscillators, detune a bit, and here's something I want to point out, you know, since I'm having, you know, a lot of analog synths, perhaps not many, but I have a few of them. Analog VCOs tends to be very much beating when you detune one oscillator against the other. This one has the beating, of course, but since it's digital oscillators, they behave a bit different. Not that they behave in a bad way, but definitely they do not sound like wave beating on a Prophet if you listen carefully. But it has its own sound. I love that sound, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's that it has more potential to reach other territories, I would say. Can put the perfect fifth. But if we put it like this, if I had to reduce my synthesizers, I dare to say that I could easily sell all my Prophets, not all Prophets. I mean my Prophet 6, my OB6 would be hard to sell, of course, but I would say that Prophet 6 and Rev 2, definitely no problem. This one, to me, this one is really beating them up in many ways, in good ways, you know. It's this instrument, for me at least, is so much more inspiring. And let's use the envelopes now. And you can really program so fast on this synthesizer, it's unbelievable. Some chorus. Some delay. Let's use the second LFO. I'm going to put it in a mode which makes it constantly on. Else I have to mention that this keyboard is polyphonic aftertouch. Let me put my cup of tea away so I can play with both hands. If you wonder what happened there, it's I'm using the DDS2, let's say oscillator 2, but it's DDS in this world, you know, synthesizer. So I'm using the DDS2 to modulate the voltage control filter cutoff. If you noticed, if you were listening very careful, you could feel that there was some balance going between left and right speaker. And that was because we have binaural mode on. And when we have binaural mode on, we have the spread function also shares a function here on the LFO called left-right phase. This basically does like this. It takes the left and right binaural voice and it offsets the modulation from the LFO, which means that they start in different time position of the LFO cycle, the left and right voice modulation. That's the easiest way to explain it. So for example, if I modulate the LFO1, modulating the voltage control amplifier in this case, it means that basically that the VCA for left-right voice goes left-right modulated with the time offset of the LFO1. And that's what creates this movement and in this image, and also would go the same if I would modulate, for example, the filter cutoff. Perhaps I can put the chorus off. Could make it easier to hear. And just remember that right now I really am only scratching the surface of this beast. And as you can, just imagine this, two oscillators, and you can put the second DDS into sub-oscillator mode if you want. But I mean, the fun doesn't stop there. You have a second layer to work with. So you can work with like a dual layer or split. And things I want to point out that's really good with this synth is that when you're making patches, you have patch memories for the single patches, and then it's called performances. A performance can be, for example, like a dual or a split mode. And this is what I like with it is that when you change something on the patches, it won't overwrite the single patches because it's a separate memory which takes a copy of the single patches into the performance memory. So the performance memory is basically, as I would say, a memory for the multi-setup. And this means that, of course, that you can save the single patches again if you want to edit them, but then you need to save them in the single memory, the single patch memories then. And you have so much memory. Right now, as I know, it's currently not possible to make sysx dumps with this synthesizer, but you do make backups over USB, like an USB hard disk drive on a computer, which is very handy and convenient. And for those of you that think like, oh my god, there's no screen, oh shit, I say that you don't need screens for these type of synthesizers. I mean, you can, Prophet 6 don't need screen, OB6 don't need screen, Triangle 6 doesn't need screen either. It would of course be a bit convenient to have a screen on the synthesizer, but it's not really necessary on these types. What I like without the screen is that you have much more focus on sound editing, and you do not get too much looking at the numbers because you're using your ear much more, and that's what I really like. And I think that if I would have like the Super 6 in front of me, I could make a video very easy to say this is how you play, tune the things and all this stuff. This is very near a Super 6 in many ways, but it's not really the same in the concept. This is meant to be more dual layer type of synth. And I'm not sure like what we should do. Perhaps we should try to make some sound now if you're still here listening to my talking. And we can start with, let's listen to the sine. Sound doesn't need to be complex to sound good. And as you can hear, we're already on a musical journey even with these simple elements. I mean, isn't that incredible, honestly? It's something extraordinary, you know. It's this synth, you can make so many good sounds with it, and it's so fun to play. It feels premium, and the cool thing also is that you have individual outputs of the layer A, B, I mean upper lower layer, so these ones independently. And right now it's connected in the mix. And remember that the sounds I made now, which were super simple, sounded super good. And I think that's really what defines a good synthesizer. And since just use your imagination that I haven't even touched the second layer now, which perhaps makes you consider that perhaps it's not really important to have a Super Gemini. Perhaps a Super 8 would be enough. But I think that doesn't cost that much extra to get the Super Gemini, so you have like a bit convenience of having the dual layers, and it's so easy to handle this synth. You can easily grab it. It's so easy to lift it, even if it's a big synthesizer. But of course, these ones are not as portable as the Super 6. If you're considering about synth that you should be able to take with you much easier. So all I can say is that this synthesizer really rocks, and I think it's an investment for life, this one. I really recommend, if you have possibilities, try one, see what you think. I honestly think that this synth is like one of the biggest synth that you can grow with over time. It has so much potential, and it's endless fun, honestly. But remember that it's a poly. Poly are polys and not mono. It's a big difference. If you want the mono style, take a look at the UDO audio domino instead, which is sort of a mono, but it's an 8 voice, 2-part, 4 voice, we can say. Incredible machines, honestly. Endless fun. The times really fly.